Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Brothers-in-law. I'm Corey Taylor, and I'm joined with my brother from another mother, Mr. Michael Bradley. Hey, Mike, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on? Good to be back for another good show. Give some good info and
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
talk about some stuff and see what's happening around here. You know, we got a
Yeah,
good one coming up. I know everybody didn't hear it on YouTube and stuff like that or in the news about. Well, actually, I haven't heard too much about it in the news, but uh, about the Kansas City woman who initially the witness, quote unquote, witness claimed that she was shot 5 times and she was pregnant during a police
yeah.
altercation. So we're gonna review that, and give our honest opinion about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad everybody to be back. Everybody looking at Goat. I see you, Goat. Good to join us. Stacy, I see you on here. Please shoot
Tone,
questions at
tone,
Tone. Oh yeah,
yeah,
Tone. I didn't
tone,
see Tone yet. Is Tone on there?
tone. Be on here in a minute.
Yeah, he'll probably be on in a minute. But
Yeah, we give people a couple minutes to jump
yeah,
on.
give him a few minutes. But it's something, something that we can talk about and uh before it really starts hitting the fan. And see what's going on. How's the weekend, Corey?
Good, man. I mean, I actually got to take the boys to the gun range, so that was awesome.
Oh,
Hey,
that's
Katrina,
cool.
thank you for
That's cool.
joining. Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Katrina.
So we're gonna talk about this young lady who was shot by the police 5 times. The initial story and report was that she was unarmed, but we're gonna break it down like Mike said, and we'll give you our take on it, whether or not it was something that a reasonable officer should have done or would have done in a situation like that. Obviously, like always, Mike and I will give you our opinions on it. If we were there taking this call, what would we have done in this type of situation? So, as usual, before we go ahead and get started, go ahead and smash that like, share, and subscribe button for us. If you're new tonight, thank you for joining us, and we hope you learn something out of this. The object of this is uh, how to ensure you don't get yourself in this type of situation, so you don't end up um, getting severely hurt or killed by law enforcement, or the other way around, injuring or killing an officer. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining us
Hey, Matt. Good to
tonight,
see you
sir.
on here.
So this might occurred last week, May 31st, in Kansas City, Missouri, at a Family Dollar. I believe the initial call was for a active carjacking. Police uh, identified the vehicle, initiated traffic stop. The driver got out the vehicle and took off running. He was then later apprehended. She jumps out the vehicle, but I believe first, before she gets out, she tells the police there's a gun in the car. Um, and then at some point, she gets out and takes out running. Now, be advised, there is only one video that's out, and that is the witness, and it's about 47 seconds, and Mike and I will play that here for you in a second. But what we want you to look at and pay attention to is how the media picked up on the story so quick and just took that one side of the story, and then now you got a whole community in an uproar before all the evidence even came out for you really to develop an opinion about whether it was right or wrong. Then you'll hear her, and then we'll show you an image, and then you be the judge whether or not, well, that they kind of rushed the judgment on that one before anything came out. What you say, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you know how we love body cameras. I mean, as officers, like we
Yes,
always
sir.
said before, Corey, as officers, I mean, a body camera is I can't imagine doing this job without it. I've done the job without it and with it, and comparing the two. Although initially it made me, it was something to get used to having to use. Yeah, there was some uncomfortableness there, but uh I'm a strong supporter of body worn cameras and love them to death. But like you said, Corey, this got out so quick in the media that they took
Right.
this one witness's story and blew it up. Now, granted, body worn camera. We would love to see the body worn camera. Sure, they haven't released that yet. Apparently, in this particular city, you're required to have a judge's signature authorization to release the body camera. Apparently, it's not something that the police department can do on their own, independent of a judge. That was my understanding. So, it takes a court order to release that. But I do understand that the mayor of this city actually saw the body camera. Obviously, the district attorney's office, or the people who actually charged the crimes in court, they saw the body camera. Enough people saw this body camera to where this still image of what was released was verified that, yeah, that's accurate and that's true,
Right.
And we'll get into some semantics after you play the video of what the witness claims they saw and how we feel about that in a minute.
Yep. All right. Well, without further ado, go ahead and set this video up and get it going. So give me just a second here so I can. Oh, no, I don't have to do that. All right. And just be cautious. There is some profanity in this. So if you have little ones in the room, you might want to cover their ears. As you can see in the back part of the screen there, behind the cruiser, almost parallel with the building there, adjacent to the building there, you see the woman, the victim, or the suspect, I should say, on the ground shot. So here we go. Yeah, and we don't see the shooting. So the witness picks up after the shooting has already happened.
Oh my God, they shot her. Oh my God, they shot her. Oh my God, they shot her. Mama, they shot her. Oh my God, they shot her. Oh God, they shot her. Oh my God, they shot her.
And this is the witness that recorded it. I ain't even gonna try to say her name.
The man ran. She was finna cooperate. She got scared. She ran down there. They shot her. 1, 2, 3, 4. My son got it on his phone too. They got her in handcuffs while she shot God. I'm a medical assistant, God. It ain't right. I'm a medical assistant, God. It ain't right.
And so that's.
And I didn't, like I said, we didn't show you. They haven't released it, the actual body worn camera of the officers yet. And this woman saw this from a distance, and that was her. I will say this, Corey. That was her honest view, an honest interpretation of what she thought she saw. She did see them shoot her, right? She just don't know the circumstances surrounding.
Right. But then that's the thing, though. She caught the after fact. You know, and then try to explain what you saw. How do you know she was getting ready to surrender? You saw her.
She didn't have the up close and personal,
right?
View of what was going on. But when you put that out, just what y'all just saw, when you put that out to the media, what kind of response are you gonna get, especially in today's climate? You're gonna get, folks up in arms, because she was, matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, she was also claiming that she didn't have a gun or she wasn't armed.
Right.
And it came out, and the witness said that she was pregnant because she heard the woman say that she was pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
without even knowing.
Got out of the car. The officers obviously confronted her and started giving her orders, and was telling her to get on the ground. And that's when she started saying, "I can't get on the ground. I'm pregnant. I can't get on the ground. I'm pregnant." Okay. So then,
and again, that's one of those things too, Mike, that police officers have to take for granted. Because I mean, it's not like she was really showing that she was pregnant, because here is what the witness forgot to show in her video, or did not show in her video. That's the young lady, and where that circle is, that red circle, That's the gun in her hand. So yes, she is running away, but look what direction she's pointing that gun at. She's pointing back towards the officer
Yeah, I
or
mean, what
officers
this in this view, yeah, there's more than one officers here. This is just a still
just
image of the
from the
body
body
camera
camera.
from one of the officers that was trying to apprehend her.
Right.
Now, to me, where you see that, I've heard in some social media sites, they're saying that, well, was she actually pointing it at the officer, or or was she just holding it up in the air or holding it back behind her? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
They're starting to break that down and trying to dissect that. Whereas if you got a, as an officer, if I'm chasing you and you got a gun and you make a motion like that towards me or something like that, anything like that,
I'ma
then I
shoot you.
could shoot you. All right. I might think it's necessary to shoot you. That is not unreasonable. Okay. Look where how she's holding this gun behind her in this image. That's not natural for somebody who doesn't plan to use that gun. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
not, yeah, that's not I'm getting ready to surrender.
No, that's not a posture that I give up or anything like that. That's I might shoot you running away. Very
Right.
common for fleeing suspects to pop a round off as they're fleeing behind them. Very common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now she
And
may not be, just for the sake of, just for semantics here, she may not be pointing that gun at the officer whose body camera you're seeing right now, but maybe she was pointing it at an officer on the other side of this van. That's what we don't see yet. You see what I'm saying?
yep.
Now it's been reported that yes, she was pointing at officers. Well, she very well could have been looking at this still image. Very
Yep.
well, very possible that that could have happened.
Yep.
You know? And then they were saying about how this was doctored up. This was a doctored up image.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, I'm not gonna worry about that. You're not gonna doctor that. I mean, that's a
No,
bunch of bull crap.
no,
Uh,
you can't do
but
that. And not only that, enough people had actually seen the body worn camera footage that
right.
hasn't been released yet. You got the mayor, you got everybody in the district attorney's office. You got to understand, folks. Police have to prepare this case, send all their evidence to the district attorney for them to review for for any charges to be filed. So a
I
lot of
think
people got to see this
I, I
video.
think I think Mike, what they should have done is, again, probably you could talk about the story or whatever, but I think the news broadcast should, put the community at ease and say, something to the lines of, hey, there's more to come, let's not hit the streets and tear stuff up when they're not doing that. So good on them. They're not doing that. But not just to let them know that it's still under investigation. There's still more to come. Let the community know that, hey, they requested a FOIA, which is Freedom of Information Act, which when you do that, then the police department has to release certain things. But it also depends on where they are within that investigation. They're not going to go and just release everything and you still have an active investigation on it. But it would still come. And I think that's why, Mike, too, they got this still image out as fast as they did.
Yeah, to at
Just so
least
you
show
can
that
see,
she wasn't
right?
unarmed.
She
Clearly,
wasn't unarmed,
she was
as
armed.
and I give the news media is going to report what they're being told from witnesses. But this is not, in my opinion, just what I've read thus far. It doesn't seem like she was real credible because she missed so much, right? She's talking what she saw, and like you said, Mike, her perspective on what she caught, right? But you're leaving out a whole. You're automatically going to put blame on the police without even knowing the whole story. Because
Right.
how many times have we heard, oh, well, he didn't have a gun, he didn't have this, but then we come to find out, based upon further investigation, we find out that the individuals did have weapons, and that changed everything. But you're so far gone on your decision being made because of what the media has told you already. You don't even care about what the truth is.
True, I agree. And we always say the best thing to be is a good witness. Keyword, good witness. Only report what you saw. Now, she said that the witness claimed that this woman was unarmed. Well, clearly she didn't see that clearly that she was unarmed. But she said that, and what's scary is, and I've seen witnesses like this before, where they swear up and down it was blue when turns out it was red. You see what I'm saying? Right. So she didn't clearly see what was in her hands to be able to report that she was unarmed. You know what I'm saying? Turns out this woman was armed, obviously. And the pregnancy part, apparently she's not pregnant after all, which is common when we come across suspects, when I've come across suspects in the past. There are a couple of things that is very common for suspects who don't want to go to jail, and they will lie and think that this will slow down the process or that we will treat them differently because of what they're saying. Number one is I have a medical issue or something like that, where they want to go to the hospital because in their mind, they've done this enough that they think that if they end up having to go to the hospital, police officers will be able to cite and release them at the hospital and they won't go to jail. So it's very common for suspects to say something or do something to try to convince the officers that, no, we need to get you to the hospital first. And when they get to the hospital, of course, you get a ticket. You get, as long as it's not a serious enough crime, you get a ticket and cite released at the scene, and you go home after that. Or they'll say I'm pregnant, and whether they're showing or not, they'll say I'm pregnant and I can't do certain things, like I can't get on the ground. Clearly,
I can't raise my hands.
Or I can't raise my hands. So clearly this is a prime example of this suspect. Apparently, if she told these officers that she was pregnant, clearly she was lying because she didn't want to get on the ground. She didn't want to get proned out on the ground, and she probably knew she was going to try to run away. That's why she didn't want to get proned out on the ground.
Right, and hence she did it. Now, I'd like to know at what point, because she did state that there was a weapon in the car, and I'd like to see via body footage, did she grab it and take it with her, or did she already have it on her? Now, that's not going to make a bit of difference, because at the same time, when they tell you to drop the weapon, guess what you're supposed to do, folks? You're supposed to drop the weapon.
Drop the weapon.
There's no questioning in that. If an officer tells you to drop that weapon, you drop it. And you don't do what this young lady is doing here. That's the whole point of the acronym, staying calm, compliant, answer questions, listening, and move on. So you don't end up shot 5 times. And then now we got a whole community in an uproar and want to take action against the police when in fact you're the one that's in the wrong in this type of situation. So we don't want you to get hurt. We don't want you to get shot and killed. It's as simple. You know what? You caught me. It's one. Now I wanted it. Maybe she had. Why did she run? Did she have papers on her or what? I mean, it's.
You also got to keep in mind the nature of the call here. This was a carjacking.
Yeah, it was a
carjacking.
Carjacking
is not you just rolled up and jumped in somebody's car and took off with it. A carjacking is you took that car by force or fear. Clearly, probably by a gun in this case. He probably threatened somebody with a gun, just like a robbery. You threaten somebody with a gun or put a gun in their face and say, get out the car. That's a carjacking, folks. So that's a violent crime within itself. She's running. Another indication of guilt and involvement, and she's armed. Even solidifies her guilt and involvement in the carjacking, because they were in the car that they were carjacking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to understand that too. So we, as officers, we ain't gonna respond to that call without our guns being drawn from the start. Okay.
Yeah.
Once I locate that vehicle and it's occupied, my gun is coming out as soon as I get out the car.
Oh, for sure. Katrina and Matt both have a comment here. Katrina says it's funny is she says she's pregnant, but yet she still has a gun in her hand ready to use it on someone or something. Where's the thought of, oh, I'm pregnant, I better protect my unborn child? Yeah. So, and that's right, Katrina, because that's why you, as an officer, we would have to take that with a grain of salt, right? Okay, yeah, you telling me you telling, but your actions are like, okay, well, you don't have care for your life or for that unborn child. So,
Right. You
a a
involved in
a
carjacking,
normal
but you
a
want to say I'm
normal
pregnant.
a normal person might a normal person would have consideration for that child within her womb. Like, I'm not going to do myself harm to harm my baby. Maybe I better stop. Maybe I better not pull this gun out and point it back at the officer. Because guess what? If she was pregnant or is pregnant and she gets shot and killed, or she gets shot and just the baby dies, and that, then she would be liable for that death of that child,
Yeah.
not the officer, because you put that unborn uh, child's life in danger.
Right. And if you point a gun at me, whether you pregnant or not,
I'm
you
gonna
pointing
shoot
the
you.
gun at me, I'm gonna shoot you back. So I'm gonna
I'm gonna
shoot you
shoot you.
before you shoot me. The
I,
other thing is this whole and yeah, as officers, I'm not worried about it either as a former officer. But when they say, well, there's this perception from citizens, I think, that they think that you have to clearly and actually aim that firearm directly at that officer. That's not true.
Mhm.
You got to think, well, what is pointing at you? Is it if I'm pointing at your leg, is that pointing at you? If I'm pointing at your waistline, is that pointing at me? If I'm pointing at your chest, is that pointing at me? You see how that can that's just open for interpretation. The way she holding that gun and in this particular image, she very well could have been pointing it at somebody. Because if I'm running away and I'm not trying to get caught with a gun, I'm dropping that gun. I'm not even holding that gun up in any form or fashion. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's the thing. If an officer's perception is that you are aim or getting ready to shoot him or her, then they're within their rights to shoot you before you shoot them. It don't
And
take but a split seconds for you to pull that trigger.
right, that's, I think, is the big takeaway from this, Mike, is that you, as an officer, you don't have a whole lot of time, because a decision is going to have to be made. Because if you wait too long, she gets a shot off. Okay,
It's too late.
she's aiming down at your feet. Okay, it's the thing what we call ricochet. All right, that bullet hits the ground, boom, ricochets up and hits you in the gut below your vest. And so now, the officer's injured, and she could be, you can make that up. Oh, I'm aiming at him, I wasn't shooting at him. Well, you still shot the gun, you still hit him, that bullet still hit him or her. And now, now you got other charges on you. So I mean, I don't want to wait to the very last minute. As soon as I see that gun in this position right here, or as soon as I see her make that motion and swinging it back, and I know right now, as an officer, I have to assume your intention right now is to shoot that gun at us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now I have to make that decision. Well, do I wait till she shoots, or do I go ahead and stop the threat now before they
And
have the opportunity?
I'm glad you said that because I think most citizens think that you are actually supposed to wait until she shoots you.
I'm
You're
not.
supposed to
You're
wait for
sadly
that.
mistaken.
And you're sadly mistaken. The point is, I'm trying to get you before you get me. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
If I saw this woman in this position with that firearm, just like she got it right there, I'm gonna shoot you too. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It's open to interpretation. That's the point. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you ain't running with a gun in your hand.
Mhm.
Number one. Um, I'm sure there's probably some more that's gonna come out. And please, folks, if we find out some information that happened in this that we don't know about or that we incorrectly reported, we'll be glad to come back on and re-review this and say, yeah, we found this out, and then give you another, perception of what we think should have happened.
Yeah,
I don't have
yeah.
any problem with that.
I mean, yeah. Always keep in mind these things are very fluid, and like we talked about the Uvalde shooting. The information is fluid when it's an active investigation like this. So you know what may be the headline today may not be the headline tomorrow. So we just ask you to just keep an open mind. And the big takeaway for me, Mike, is, and I always say it in our videos, is don't rush to judgment. I don't want you to rush to judgment. I want you to sit back and just wait. Let's see. Okay, you said this is it. This is her. Okay, on face, it may sound bad, but I guarantee it's just more. Because when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, police officer just shoot this woman 5 times, unarmed, pregnant, and nothing else. Nah, I'm not buying it. And I said to myself, I was like, I know there's a gun somewhere. Then I heard the next day, I forget who YouTuber was talking about, and it's like, yeah, there was a gun in the car, and that's all they spoke on. And I was like, okay, did she reach for the gun? Did she have the gun in her possession? You see what I'm saying? All these things are unanswered questions that have to come out before you can say, yeah, the police officer were wrong in this case. Then we come find out, and I think I sent you this, Mike. This picture here we're looking at now of the officers' body cam footage is still body cam for like, oh, there you go. Now I can start putting things together and looking to see, okay, well, young lady, you probably made a wrong decision right here. Had you just kept in the mind of our acting room calm, if you had looked and watched our videos, which we know criminals aren't, you would know that's a bad decision to make. First of all, getting in the car and being with your boyfriend, that was, from what I've read, that was her boyfriend that she was in the car with. Didn't say if any other people were in there besides him who was driving the vehicle, and her, I think she was as a passenger. It was just them two. I would say to her, you might want to find yourself a new boyfriend.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he didn't get shot, and he ran too, and he didn't get shot because he didn't obviously didn't have a gun, and didn't make any threatening motions with a firearm. She did. Well, we see why she did. You know what I'm saying?
Matt, you're 100% correct. Eliminate threat before the threat harms anyone, whether law enforcement or a civilian. She created a threat with her actions. 100%. 100%. I mean,
I agree.
You can't argue that, man. I mean, a lot of these shootings might, I believe, can be lessened, if you will. They don't have to happen. But then you have to start asking, what was her mindset? What made her want to get out and run? And based on your experience, what are some reasons why you come across people want to run when they get stopped?
Yeah, the bottom line, it all goes down to I don't want to get arrested, or I might have warrants, or I know I was just involved in something and they have enough information to arrest me. So I'm gonna take off from the officers because they can't catch me. I don't want to be involved. I don't want them to catch me. And it's like you said, Corey, once you caught. You take off running. The point that we want to make especially is when you take off running, or if you don't follow commands, or you are only creating a situation where something like a shooting could happen. You don't ever want to put an officer in a position where their perception may be that they have to shoot you. You see what I'm saying? And you can argue all day whether the officer was in the right or wrong. You see what I'm saying? But whatever happens to the officer, whether he or she gets charged or not, go to court or not, doesn't bring you back if you die. You see what I'm saying? You're not alive to argue your case. And we want to keep people alive. And that's the way to keep people alive is don't do actions that will create a scenario or more of an issue where you could get shot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, and that goes above whether or not any shooting was justified or not. You see what I'm saying? And I say that because most of these officer-involved shootings were because of some sort of resistance from the suspect. You see what I'm saying? Some sort of resistance from the suspect, whether they were fighting, whether they were running, whatever it was. we could sit here and argue again. We can sit here and argue all day on these incidents, whether or not the officer was justified in his shooting. But if you don't put yourself in that position, or you don't assist in creating that kind of situation, then you're going to walk away alive. You might be arrested. Okay. We can argue an arrest because you're alive to do so. You can charge and be charged or not be charged for something like that. You see what I'm saying? Arrests can be argued in court and easily taken care of, but a death is permanent, and we don't want you to get shot and be permanent dead. Okay.
And depending on where you live, your judicial system, I mean, the way they're letting people off now and not prosecuting things, you better off just going on surrender, because 9 times out of 10, within 24 to 48 hours, you'll be back out on the streets on bail, on what we call a unsecured bond.
It just ain't worth it. I mean,
it ain't worth it. I mean, at least, if you go ahead and surrender, in 24, 48 hours, depending on what your criminal history is like, you're gonna be back out on the streets, right? And if you feel that if you feel like you were done unjustly, then there are plenty of attorneys out here that would love to take your case, because they're trying to build their resume, right?
Yeah.
So they'd be gladly to take your case, and especially if you got a solid case. And then you go and sue the city and departments for millions of dollars, and after it's all over, you sitting on the beach somewhere drinking a Mai Tai, right? So at this time, in where we are in society, it would behoove you to go ahead and just surrender and just give up, and not put yourself in that position, like Mike is saying, to where you're now in a life or death situation. And 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna end up dead. She got lucky, 5 shots, and she's still living.
She's still alive. Yeah,
she's still alive.
You know what I'm saying?
So I just don't think it's gonna work out for her in her favor, based on what we see now, what we've already heard, and just really based on the rest of the evidence they have. Far as now, what if she, that's all legal. I won't get into all that's too much legal stuff.
I mean, the most that would have happened here, if she didn't run, she would have been arrested, booked into jail for carjacking. You see what I'm saying? Maybe possession of a firearm or something like that. She made whatever. Even if she would have been released after jail or been in jail for a minute, she would have been alive. That's the point. She would have been alive. She wouldn't have got shot. You see what I'm saying? So that's I think we got to put the emphasis on that kind of behavior. You see what I'm saying? And that's the behavior that we gotta that you gotta cut that out. You can't, and don't throw in though she was pregnant. Well, if she was so concerned about being pregnant, she would have never been doing what she was doing. Carjacking folks is dangerous. Put it this way. Wouldn't it be reasonable for an officer in this situation to think that she could shoot them? Sure, she was just involved in a carjacking. Why not? Why wouldn't I think that she getting ready to shoot me if she was just involved in a carjacking? She running from me. She know I'm the person that's going to arrest her. She pulls out this gun. She holds it in the manner that she does. Even if she had it down by her side and she's standing there with it down by her side, why wouldn't I think as an officer that she probably could shoot me? Is going to shoot me with this. You know what I'm saying? She was just involved in a violent crime. Of course, why would I not think she was going to shoot me? You see what I'm saying? Because her actions are definitely not saying anything close to, okay, I give up. Here you go. By the way, there's a gun here. I'm not holding it. She ain't doing none of that. She is every intention of getting away and probably shooting somebody to do that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, and just based on her actions and what we're seeing here in this video, in this footage, that's what we can assume. And if you're that officer, that's what you have to do, is assume, like you were saying, that she's going to use that weapon, right? And that's why I said I'd like to see more of the body cam footage, because I want to know, did she have it on her person already, or did she pick it up off the floorboard and got out with it, or is it or did the boyfriend have possession of it? And as he got out and ran and dropped it, and she leaned over and picked it up, and still stated that, hey, there's a weapon in the car, and still got out and took off running from the police officers.
Or did she say there's a weapon in the car, thinking that the officers were immediately going to search in the car and lose sight of her? Maybe she said that as a ploy, thinking that that's what these officers were going to do, and that was her opportunity to take off on. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she had the gun in her waistband the whole time. Who knows?
Exactly. So again, that builds what was her intent for me. That's why I want to know those things, because I'm trying to figure out, as a law enforcement officer, I need to figure out what intent. Why is she doing this? Right? Again, because we had to build the case, and obviously, they're going to interview her, and where was the weapon, who had the weapon, blah blah blah. So as a citizen now, this is what I have to do: put the pieces together to wait to see. Okay, the police that were wrong in this one, 100%, or no. This subject here, this young lady here, she's definitely at fault. I mean, if she had not done this, if she had just surrendered, if you will, at the very beginning of this, and not took off and flee from law enforcement, then we would not be in this position. So, I that's why for me, I want to know the whole very beginning of this, from the initial stop up to the point where she got. Now, the next question is, well, why they had to shoot it 5 times, Mike?
Oh, you know how I feel about the number of times you shot. And the situation is high stressful. If I feel I need to use deadly force again, I ain't counting bullets. You see what I'm saying? I'm shooting until I feel that I'm not threatened anymore. You see, if that takes 5 rounds, if that takes 10 rounds, okay, then that's what I'm gonna do. You see what I'm saying? I don't. Officers don't count bullets. Yeah. In the investigation, are we asked how many bullets did we fire? Sure, we asked that. And fortunately, in my career, I've never been actually involved in a shooting, and I thank God.
Thankful for that.
But we've had plenty of training of shooting in high stressful situations. And if I feel I gotta pull that gun on you, shoot you, I ain't counting bullets. I'm pulling that trigger as fast as I can.
And again, like we said in many videos in the past, we shoot till the threat is stopped. Is that until she goes down? Yeah, if I get 4 or 5 off before she hits the ground, then it is what it is. Zach, hey, welcome, Zach. Zach said DA's like when you're armed, firing at police. I mean, you can kill a police officer and get bail right away, and then skate at court, and it's happening all over the country. And that's what we were just saying. I think you just jumped in at the tail end of that, Zach. We were just saying it a few minutes ago. If she would just give up in the very beginning, and based on her criminal history, she would be out in 24 to 48 hours with unsecured bond, or what we call a PR bond, with no money attached to the bail.
That's right. And then
be out on the street.
And like Matt was saying, if she didn't have a firearm, maybe we would be having a completely different conversation here. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You made me lose my train of thought for a minute there, Corey. But
we wouldn't be having this conversation if she hadn't had that firearm. Yeah, I mean, we probably wouldn't be talking about this story at all, because they were able to detain her and take her into custody without harm. Because they did it to the young man who took off running. He didn't get hurt. Now, they say he did receive medical attention, but it was unrelated to the alleged carjacking. So he was taken in custody without harm, even though he fled. And likewise, probably would have ended up for her if she didn't have the weapon. If she got out the car and ran without the gun would still remain in the car. I mean, at that part, you're doing fingerprint tests. She could say, I didn't touch the gun. Hey, that might have been her way out. She would have been clear. She would just still got hit with the carjacking, but she wouldn't got hit with the weapon charge. So
And
it's
if she got 5 times, plus that's what I was going to say. If she got hit 5 times, is that all by the same officer? Did 2
see, that's
officers
what we
fire,
don't know.
or
We
did
don't
1
know.
officer fire? And if 1
We don't
officer
know.
fired, I'm surprised both officers didn't fire. But an explanation for that could be, well, maybe the other officer wasn't clear on what he was seeing. Maybe he or she didn't see that she was pointing a gun at him. You chasing somebody, or you on one side of the car and the other officer's on the other side of the car, maybe. You know what I'm saying? One officer might have that perception. In this case, you can clearly see that. You see what I'm saying? There could be a lot of explanations. We don't know all those answers
All right.
yet.
Here's a good question. Katrina says, Zach brought up a good point. Why do you guys think the courts are not being so proactive as much anymore? Well, Katrina, I can tell you on our end, in a particular city, it's based on that Commonwealth. She's very progressive. She's all about the criminals' well-being versus Zach, they're politicians.
Yeah,
She's more worried about the convictions of the uh, young men that are committing these crimes versus worried about the safety of the community. And I can tell you, if this would happen here in this particular city, they would definitely be out within 24 to 48 hours if they didn't have any prior convictions. They would be out on bond.
That's a very broad question, Katrina, because I would imagine that courts across the country are different depending on the charging.
Why not, Zach?
Attorney, you know, Zach, what did he say?
It didn't want me to use the word
progressive.
Don't use progressive as a word.
I hear you. I hear you.
It is what it is. That's who they are. That's their views.
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte district attorneys, they make up their. One thing I have learned is, you know, the district attorney's office in California is called a district attorney. I know it's called different things in different parts of the country, but
in
California, the district attorney's office, they too have caseloads, obviously. You see what I'm saying? And someone has to decide which cases they're going to charge and which cases they are not going to charge. Usually, if there's a victim, they are obligated to charge the case if, in fact, there's a crime. They can prove that crime was committed. Or some cases, if there's no victims, there's a lot of crimes there's no particular victims. They may not charge that due to the caseload. That doesn't necessarily mean the crime wasn't committed. It just means that they have such caseloads that they have to manage that they may or may not charge certain crimes. You see what I'm saying? And some, like you said, Corey, some district attorneys are more liberal than others or more conservative than others. Some district attorneys might be more apt to charge certain crimes versus other crimes. And I think you get a difference of that across the board. What you think, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they have to do what they were elected to do, and that's to enforce the laws on the books. It's not about, you know, your personal views. You have to put that aside and look at the best interest of the community. I mean, because you got in this particular city where I'm from,
I hear you, Zach. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Zach.
you got folks that are committing murders and are out in less than 24 hours, 48 hours. Murder. And they're out on the streets. Now, what's going to happen is, and what scares me is that, and Matt knows the city I'm talking about. I'm not going to throw that city out here like that. What I'm afraid of is you're going to get these relatives of these people who are being gunned down in the streets by these other thugs. If they're not going to get justice, they're going to take justice into their own hands, and it's going to get ugly. So you need to enforce the laws that you have. Quit trying to be liberal, if you will. If that's a better word Zach likes. With your liberal point of views, show your concern, show your empathy for these family members whose loved ones are gunned down the street versus, oh, we don't want this guy being locked up for 10 years or what. Screw that. He was man enough to pick that gun up and go do this. Well, he man enough to go do them 10 years or however long. I don't. It's getting frustrating. And what's sad, Mike, is that these criminals know this, and that's why they have no fear. That's why they're out here doing. I hate to change the subject, but look at that video I sent you guys yesterday in our text group. Look at that. That's here. That's these boys acting like. Let me tell you something, folks. These cats don't care. They're out here with their guns at at cemeteries, pissing on people's graves and getting high of the people that they shot and killed. This is what these boys are doing now. They don't care. And when you start being so leaning on the law because you don't want so-called black males being in the system in the what is it the school to prison pipeline bull crap, this is what you get. And everybody in that video I showed you, Mike, are under the age of 21. And look at all those freaking guns they got. And I guarantee you, they didn't go down to Willie's Pawn and Gun Shop down the street and purchase those weapons legally. I guarantee you it. And a couple of those boys on there, I've seen. And no.
Yep. There is a different culture today, especially with these younger guys. You know, there's a different culture that's downright can be dangerous. You see what I'm saying? I will agree with that.
You got to do something. You
Yeah.
can't keep sugarfooting this stuff. This is what's going to happen with this young lady right here. It's going to keep going. It's going to get worse. And more of these young folks are going to die. I mean, just call it what it is in the black community, right? We all, you want to get up in the uproar if it was the police fault shooting this black lady, but we got black on black gunning people down every freaking day. What was it? Goat. We had 5 shot and killed in this particular city I'm talking about within the span of 24 hours from Monday morning into Tuesday morning this week. And these boys are going to be back out on the street. So to answer the question, you have to get harder with. You have laws on the books. We have laws on the books. You know we do, Mike. We have laws on the books for all this stuff. Let's enforce it. Let's enforce it. And then what doesn't work, then we can work on changing that, tweaking that. But let's start at the bottom line. Let's start on what we have. What we know is already law, and enforce it. Quit tying police's arms and being so. Yes, we know there's police brutality. Mike and I speak on that. If it's wrong, it's wrong. We're going to call it that. If we're going to hold law enforcement accountable, cool. But we need to start holding citizens accountable. It's a two-way street, like I always say in these videos. Police, we expect to have operate in a certain way. Guess what? Citizens, you need to act accordingly and in a certain way. And that's when you interact with law enforcement, you don't fight and try to resist. Man, get your $1 million and go have your drink on the beach. That's what it's. Get that money if you're wrong. If they were wrong, what say you, Mike?
I agree with you. And number one key is you're alive. You're alive. You're alive to sue somebody for whatever you feel that they wrongfully did you for as far as law enforcement go. You see, but you're alive to do that. That's the big thing for me.
Yep.
You know, and another thing, just real quick, we're about to wrap it up here in a little bit, but just real quick, I saw that they finally they ended up charging that. Where was it? Was it what city was
Michigan.
it? Michigan. The Michigan officer who shot the guy. What was his last name? Ayala.
I don't even get me to say it.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I'm sure you guys have seen this. I just saw it on the internet today. Anyway, the guy that shot the guy in the back of the head who was fighting and struggling with the officer's taser.
With the taser,
in Michigan. Yeah. They charged that officer with murder. And it is what it is. I mean, we did a show on that, Corey, and we gave our opinion. I think the only thing that we said or I said we would do is jump off of him at some point, throw down on him. If he pointed that taser at me, I would have shot him. But hey, I think we said it in the last show that he very well could be charged, and he was. So we'll go see, wait to see what's going to happen with that, and if there's any case law dealing with that. You see what I'm saying? As far as somebody grabbing an officer's taser, I'm surprised there are actually none that I can think of right now, but I have to research that. But anyway, just to give you guys a heads up on that, because that was something that we talked about, and I wanted to follow up a little bit and say that that's what I saw, that officer was charged.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let us know what you think about this video tonight. Is it a good conversation piece? And do you think what you saw thus far that the officers were in the right? And go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us. We greatly appreciate it. And we thank you for your comments tonight. Actually, I didn't think it was going to go this long tonight, Mike. We had to do a little. We wanted to do a little segue and talk about the Michigan shooting, as well as what transpired a couple of weeks ago back up in Buffalo. But hey, it was still a great conversation tonight. Please like, share, and subscribe. There's everybody on here tonight: Zach, Katrina, Stacy, Goat, and who else?
I heard about that tornado there, Zach. I heard about that.
Yeah. If everybody can share this out to your group, man, we greatly appreciate it. The more people we have, the better it helps us with the algorithm, and the like buttons, the share buttons, and everything getting clicked on. Helps us out and get us out there more and talk about the acronym Stand Calm. Tell it to your friends, teach it to your loved ones, teach it to your children. Learn how to stay calm when interacting with the law enforcement. Comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. Final words, Mike.
You guys have a safe weekend. It's going to be hot. Well, at least out in California, it's going to be hot. Is it hot in Ohio yet? I don't know if it's hot in Ohio yet. Is it like humid hot? I know it gets that wet kind of hot out there, man. But out in California, it's supposed to be, I got to check for this weekend, but it's supposed to be hot. But you guys have a safe weekend. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for chiming in, giving us your comments and questions. Again, if we come up with something and we are misinformed, or we have if you come up with some different information about some incident that you saw that we didn't see or didn't talk about, feel free to come on and let us know. We only give you our opinion on what we think of certain things. You see what I'm saying? So thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah. Oh, lastly, if you have a topic that you would like Mike and I and us to discuss, something that you've seen in the media and you're not really sure about, and you would like for us to talk about it, hey, hit us up at Brothas-in-law 21@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook. Mike and I are both on Facebook, and we have the Brothas-in-law on Facebook as well. So drop us a line inside there, and we'll get it on the show. So have a blessed rest of your week, great weekend, and we will see y'all next week.
Peace out.
Peace.